Hello, we return with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel and the World Class Championship Wrestling Review Series. We are into the month of March in 1986. Things are changing, unfortunately, with the passing of Gino Hernandez, but without a doubt, the beat goes on, and we open with Jack Victory and Bruiser Brody. Brody back in the area. Brody doesn't really usually stay very long in the area, but having a tie to Texas is, I guess I wouldn't say always good, but good for him. Victory obviously has, in fact, been a major force in the area, probably the best rookie to come out of the area in a while. Rookies aren't necessarily, known for the world class territory. It seems that it's kind of a intermediate to known territory. Also tends to run smaller, and so Bojack Victory tries to go after the arm of his adversary. Doesn't go very well for him though, as we see Bruiser Brody doing something I don't normally see him do, and that's use wrestling maneuvers, headlocks, and the like. I'm used to seeing him as a brawler. He does take the match to the outside pretty quickly and cast him back in, but then again goes to the front face lock. It's weird for me. I'm not terribly familiar with Brody. Again, I'm becoming a fan in '89, and I feel old in the sense that, I mean, a 30+ year fan is a big deal these days. Wrestling doesn't breed that level of fan anymore. I mean, I know people that have been fans, since the '60s and whatnot, but there definitely is a drop off. If you started to become a fan during the Monday Night Wars, you probably have left. So it's those of us that have been around a little longer that are still here. Anyway, Brody does demolish his adversary relatively quickly. They get about 5 minutes out of the match, and he hits a pile driver to gain the victory. He does kind of the hanging pile driver, holds him up there for a good 30 seconds before dropping the guy, and that it doesn't seem like or sound like much fun. The announcement next of the World Class Wrestling Association is there, the WCWA. Rather than being World Class Championship Wrestling, they kind of change names or governing bodies. Basically, the holder of the America's title is now your world champion. This is where they separated from the NWA. That's the reason this is done. We see Ravishing Rick Rude, who is the current champion, who moves into being the recognized world champion. A lot of people said this is the beginning of the end. The secession from the NWA is because Flair was, at this point, predominantly working for Crockett, and it wasn't conducive as much anymore to have the touring champion come in as it was previously in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and so that's the reason behind that. Rude and Jerry Allen, an odd match because Allen's relatively new to the area, so odd just because he's kind of a guy who hasn't really earned a championship match. Also, there is talk that the championship can now change hands by disqualification. That is a rule that they have implemented. Also, another rule: the referee can, at his discretion, if he feels that the champion is stalling the match, choose to award on points in the event of a time limit draw, points or dominance level. Anyway, back suplex by Rude. Rude really does know how to pace a match quite well for what is about 4 years in the sport, and he hit the back suplex. Allen does come back, although this is a match more so meant for Rude to be highlighted. Also, Percy Pringle on the outside, so animated, wonderfully so, as a matter of fact. We then see Rick Rude continue his dominance with body slams and the attempted dropped elbow, but he misses. To the outside goes Allen. Allen immediately, or almost immediately, finds his way back in, and in less than 60 seconds after returning, finds himself on the receiving end of the Rude Awakening. We then go to an interview series, I guess you'd say, with the Fantastics, commenting on John Tatum and the Grappler, which is their main event opponents here. That is the main event of the evening, afternoon, whatever have you. The Fantastics, obviously, former America's Tag Team Champions several times over. Grappler, still your Texas champion. And John Tatum has not found his way into championship land yet. Missy Hyatt would not be happy with that. Missy, of course, sits at ringside, continuing the foray for her gentleman. And I mean, Tatum, certainly is a guy who has a lot of potential. Just hasn't quite found it quite here in world class. The inverted atomic drop used. Also, Fulton with the abdominal stretch, among other things. All four men in the ring. Breaks down relatively simply. The heels get sent to the outside quickly, and the Fantastics look good in the early part of the match. Missy Hyatt obviously disheveled by her men's lack of ability to quickly attain the championships. Of course, the Grappler still uses that loaded boot, and that may come into play here. Irish whip into the corner, and a slower stalk by the Grappler. Grappler not overtly a quick guy. Anyway, the Tatum and the Grappler find themselves on the receiving end of monkey flips as we go through the match. They get about 10 to 12 minutes here. It's interesting to me that some episodes run shorter than others. Most of them run 45 to 47 minutes. This one running 41. So I sometimes wonder when that is, if there's extra news channels to be done, if there's extra local promos to be done. What causes that level of differential in a television program? Of course, this is back before cable was a major deal and syndication was a bigger deal. Obviously, still 86, syndication still a thing. They didn't move away from syndication across the country until sometime in 1990 or after, so that's there. And drop kick by Tommy Rogers. Rogers, who had one final hurrah in ECW, but was probably one of the more underrated individuals in tag team wrestling throughout the mid to late 80s. Rogers certainly has the ability to bring about good wrestling matches, but I think he goes goes forgotten. Him showing up in ECW is the first time I saw him, and he was great even there towards the end of his career, or certainly the end of his national career. One thing I really like about him is that he has a beautiful vertical jump for drop kicks and the like, and we do see both men go crashing together off the benefit of a atomic drop, and then we see cheating and slaps by Missy Hyatt post-match, but we kind of don't necessarily see that the Fantastics, they don't get the benefit completely of the win. They are victorious, but again, Missy Hyatt tries to interject herself longer than she should. Anyway, that's the close of this particular episode. Keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment.